If you take Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or Micro Machines, you throw survival and crafting elements at it, you end up with Grounded. We're going to have a look at this game and see if it's worth playing in 2021, or if you should wait for more updates or content, or just totally avoid it. What's up guys, Medieval Marty here, trawling through the early access games so you don't have to. These early access survival games really are a roll of the dice, but today we're going to see if this is worth your time. Before we get into the meat of this grounded beast, I do giveaways of these games I review, so stick around and find out how to get involved in that to pick up this game for free. So, Grounded is an early access game that released mid-2020 to pretty good reception. It was developed by Obsidian Entertainment, who used to make some of the best RPG games out there, Knights of the Old Republic, Neverwinter Nights, to name a couple. So yeah, they got big background, so you should expect good things from them. And yeah, let's go through it. You start out in Grounded by picking a character and entering into this big open garden, basically. The game world is fixed, so there's no procedural generation, which you see in a lot of crafting games nowadays. This does reduce the replayability of the game because, every playthrough will be the same, but it does mean that everything is where they want it. So everything feels right. It feels a lot like a single player game you'd buy on console kind of thing. Everything is where it should be, and everything feels like it's distanced the right place from each other, and what's around it makes sense. So like you look up at a big juice bottle that's toppled over, and that gets added to your map as a landmark, and it all just kind of works. So the first thing I want to cover over here is the survival and crafting systems, because this is a survival crafting game. So they are really unique in this game, which makes it really refreshing. So like, for example, if you want water, you find a fresh water source, or you find it dripping from the underside of leaves. Or as I mentioned earlier, you could find a real world item like a juice box that's dropped onto the ground and it's dripping juice down a hill. You could go to the bottom of that hill and find the juice. Your food, rather than cooking animals that you kill, it comes from bugs and insects. And then crafting's really cool as well. You find these little science labs, and every item you donate to the lab, you can learn what to make with that item. It works exactly the same as the research table in Raft if you've played that. The only difference here is in Raft, it would show you all the items and all the things you can find, so you know what to go look for. Whereas here, you've got no idea what's in the game or what you can find, which I really like. It gives the game more excitement, and you'll find an item and you've got no idea if you break that down what you're going to get or what you can make out of it. Like you find an acorn, you break it down, maybe you can make a house out of it, maybe you can make armor out of it. I mean, you can make armor out of it. Yeah, so despite these differences, the game does feel unique in its own way anyway, because there's nothing that you have in the normal survival games that will feel like this. So for example, most survival games, you hit trees and smash rocks with a pickaxe. You have a pickaxe and an axe in this game, but they're made out of leaves and they're made out of rocks, which are really small little pebbles. Trees are giant blades of grass rather than actual trees, which you can see in the game here. You could break down a 3-leaf clover. You can chop down a dandelion and then use the big leaf as a parachute to glide along the map. You can chop down grass, stack it up, and then build a house out of it. I found this big box of like mints. It was like a Tic Tac box, like a big box of mints that was open. You can climb into it and you can mine the mints for resources. You don't get that in any other game. So if you're sick of the same thing in survival games, this really will provide like a refreshing change for you. The next thing I want to talk about is combat. So I haven't got to like the end of the game, so I've not seen any like bosses per se, but I have seen most of the combat you're going to experience. Melee, ranged, spears, clubs, shields, bows, arrows, everything you'd expect in a crafting game, really. It doesn't feel amazing, but it's fine. It works. I mean, the enemy AI, they just run at you and you hit them. That's it. I don't know what else to say here, because there are some cool things, like the spiders are terrifying because they're huge and they charge at you, and if you've not got the right armor and weapons, they'll destroy you in a couple of hits. You hit an ant, you start attacking an ant, and they'll call for their army and you'll get overrun by ants. They'll send soldiers. You can find small creatures that you can absolutely dominate because you're bigger than them. And yeah, everything that you would expect from a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style game feels amazing. But the combat itself feels a little weak, I guess. I guess coming out of games like Valheim, I was expecting too much. Maybe there's no rolls, dodges, parry, skill type things. You just block, step to the side, attack while they run at you. Yeah, and What they have done well here that does work is kind of the armor system. So if you played, I'm going to go again, like games like Valheim progression, you kill an enemy, you kill a boss, you progress on with the new gear to the next area. It's more subtle here. There's no distinct progression, but let's say if you started killing the ants, so let's say you started getting like some grass armor and then you went in and killed the ants. You can take their parts, take that to the research lab, and then you can make a cool helmet out of the ant head. You can start making armor out of the ant's body parts, which is really cool. And what that gives you is all your armor will look really unique, and you'll know the areas you've dominated because you'll look like the creatures in that area or the items that you found in that area, which is really cool. Moving on from combat, I want to talk about a really important part. And this might be the most controversial part, and that's the story and the content so far. I don't want to ruin the story because it is really cool. It's really, really cool. But basically the setting is you wake up shrunk and you explore the map looking for more information. Eventually you find this big machine. This is literally the first 10 minutes, half an hour of the game. I assume this machine is supposed to grow you, make you big again. But of course it doesn't work because that would be too easy. And that leads you to another area of the game, to kind of a hub, I want to say, where you can progress the story, spend your science and resources for upgrades, new designs, and then the game kind of expands out from there, pushing you into other areas of the map. I'm not going to show too much of that because it's kind of breaking past the first 3 or 4 hours, and I don't want to ruin it because it is quite a surprise and it is really cool. And the progression is interesting. But my issue is, if you were to just play for 5 hours, I would have nothing but good things to say. But just as you start to get your teeth stuck into it, you start understanding the research, the science, you build an awesome base, you get good weapons, armor, you uncover a lot of the landmarks in the map, you run out of stuff to do. It's an early access game, but it does feel very short right now. Despite the early access, I was expecting, watching a few clips of this, I was expecting, all I'd ever seen was the garden, but I was expecting that was just the start, and you'd leave the garden and go into the house, or you'd maybe see like a dog running around the house, which would be cool. You'd go into like a swimming pool area maybe, or you'd go out into the street with cars, because you're tiny, so all of that would be so cool. But what you see is what you get here there, which worries me a little. That this is you're in the garden, and that's it. Next up, the gameplay. The graphics, beautiful. Sound and characters are unique and very cool looking. There's lots of different enemies that fit the aesthetic. There's linear and horizontal progression, both in the gear, the tools, the base upgrades, the research. Everything you build looks like it fits in, and so you don't just chop trees, get logs, and then build hundreds of items. You chop a certain thing, or you mine a certain thing, or find a certain item that has a place, and that makes a certain item that looks like what it was. You gather sap, you use that for a certain thing. Everything feels right. I've already talked about like the armor, but even like upgrades to your house. You start with like a grass house. You want to make something cooler out of like the weeds. It looks stronger. It looks cooler. You can make a cool base with all the different things. A crafting table, chests, campfires, a range of tools and harvesting items that rank up from like a level 1 pickaxe to a level 2 pickaxe that can get different things. And you can play with up to 3 friends and experience the story of the different characters. The game as a game, if you ignored everything else I've mentioned, is incredible, and I love it. I cannot say a bad thing. The game is, I'm so surprised at how much I've enjoyed this game. It's a work of art. Honestly, it really is. However, despite my love for the game, there's some bugs, there's some roughness with the combat and the enemy AI. The story is non-existent at the moment, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm just going to sum it all up now. Is Grounded worth the money? And is Grounded worth playing in 2021? The game is £25 on Steam. If you wanted a totally unique and new experience in a world you've never played before and you're not too worried about the cost, get this game. It's great. But if you want a new survival game to get lost in, this ain't it. This really isn't. I've got hundreds of hours in Minecraft, and I've got over 100 hours in Valheim, which has been out, like a month or so now. But I've played Grounded for about 15 hours, and I am running out of stuff to do. I cannot recommend buying this game right now, despite my love for the game. It feels strange to say. Normally I would say, this game's 100% worth playing, just wait for more content, maybe get it in a couple of months. But I'm really worried here that they're just going to add a bit more to the story. It's all going to be in the garden. They're just going to add a few more points of interest, polish the bugs, and then say, yeah, full release, guys, which worries me. I would 100% try the game if you're not worried about the price, if the price doesn't bother you, because I've enjoyed every minute of it, every minute of it. But if cost is a concern and you want value for money, wait until this game is finished, or wait for a sale. A caveat would be buy it on the Xbox Game Pass. I think the first month of Game Pass is like $1 for the PC, so you can definitely get $1's worth of value out of it. But yeah, wait till this game comes out. Don't just give it another month or two. There is not enough content here. Give it until they announce the full release, or until they announce, a massive patch that adds loads of story or a new zone. That would be my honest opinion. Or you can enter my giveaway to be in for a chance of getting a copy of the game for free from me. Just let me know in the comments what you like or dislike about Grounded from what you've seen in this video, or the reviews, or playing it yourself, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll pick someone at the end of this week to get a copy of this game for free from me. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.